Since the very day that Donald Trump held his hand up to his ear in Butler, Pennsylvania, I felt that he would win. And he did. Now, we can't just blame this triumphant comeback on the infamous fight, fight, fight photo. The victory of Donald Trump proves an idea that many have had for a very long time. The Democratic Party is dying. After spending $1 billion on the 2024 election cycle, Miss Middle Class Kid...
I grew up a middle class kid.
I grew up a middle class kid.
I grew up a middle class kid. I grew up a middle class kid.
failed to make it to the Oval Office. Could it have been because of her maniacal laugh? Her word salads?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
Or a complete miscalculation of what voters actually wanted from the party that advertises being by the people and for the people. This is the story of how Kamala Harris truly fell out of her coconut tree. So the Democrats lost, and for most of us, at least the people who have been paying attention, it's not too big of a surprise. We saw this coming a mile away.
Well, we're going to win and we're going to help. We have plans to build a railroad from the Pacific all the way across the Indian Ocean. Instead of cutting them, or like Congressman Trump and Bo want to do. President Harris is there to make sure we do this the right way. More than half the women in my cabinet, more than half the people in my cabinet, more than half of the women in my administration are women. More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch. To keep alive the truth and honor of the Holocaust, horror of the Holocaust. Honor those we lost. But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
All right, the breaking news this morning, President Biden moments ago challenged Donald Trump to debate as soon as next month. This would be by far the earliest general election debate in history. The Biden campaign released this video.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
And given that Donald Trump has a shaky history when it comes to debates, he's going to show up, he's not going to show up. We ended up with 2 last time. The Biden campaign, I think, decided, okay, let's put our cards on the table. You say you'll debate anywhere, anytime, anyhow. Let's do it.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look,
we'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, he was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see.
I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all.
Right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party.
I'll even use the word tragically. He tragically did not rise to the occasion last night.
For me, watching what happened last night, again, it was terrible. It was terrible. There's no way to spin it.
They're 3 years apart. They seemed about 30 years apart tonight.
I want to read now what the president says himself In a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, he reiterates he's decided not to accept the nomination and to focus his energies on his duties as president for the remainder of his term. He goes on to say that his first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president. He says, and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, he says, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. He concludes by saying, and again, this is President Biden saying, Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump.
The Democratic Party has quite literally become a shell of its former self. The party that once advertised being by the people and for the people didn't even let their own people vote for their candidate. Instead, a candidate that was clearly unqualified was chosen for them, and because of that, we're seeing one of the biggest comebacks in political history.
The whole number of the electors appointed to vote for President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, the majority is 270. The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes.
Let me remind you how we got here. It's been 4 years since Trump has been in office, and after skipping a term, the American people have voted him back into the White House. Why? Because the American people are tired of being ignored. The American people are tired of the status quo. They are tired of the politician that comes cranked up from a toy store, a puppet. For years, the American people have been expressing their concerns over the economy, the rising cost of living, and the political tensions in this country. And in response to that, we were told to shut up and sit down. Then a businessman with zero political experience comes down a golden escalator and tells us that it's time to do things a little different. The American people are given an out, somebody different, somebody that doesn't fit the typical mold of the Washington, D.C. politician, and you tried to annihilate him. The moment he came down from that escalator, suddenly his celebrity and political friends wanted nothing to do with him. Some friends that even urged him previously to run for president. Oprah Winfrey even writing a letter of encouragement urging him to run for president. A letter that's been fact-checked as real, with him responding that he'd actually love to have Oprah as his vice president.
Do you have a vice presidential candidate in mind?
Well, I really haven't gotten quite there yet. I guess Oprah, I love Oprah. Oprah would always be my first choice. Oprah, your competitor, right?
Oprah's competitor.
You know what? I'll tell you, she's really a great woman, though. She is a terrific woman. She's somebody that's very special.
Why? Could they have felt threatened that he was a legitimate threat to the hierarchy of power that they have created? Possibly. Probably. Definitely. You have lied to the American people and tried to slander this man by using his words out of context. And I won't even argue that. I'll just show you the clips.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. No, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. No, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. I'm going to be, you know, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator, okay?
That sounds to me like...
You've told black Americans that he will enslave them again.
And you can't give Republicans credit for freeing slaves when you look at what this Republican president is doing to bring it back.
You've told gay people that he will put us in camps.
I'm going to be, on day one, I'm going to be a dictator. Who says it to you, tells you, I'm going to put you people away. I'm going to take all the journalists, I'm going to take all the gay folks, I'm going to move you all around and disappear you. If that's the country you want, you know who to vote for.
And you've likened the future of the women of this country to that of The Handmaid's Tale.
Look, women don't want to be in Handmaid's Tale or Mad Men. We're not going back to that. I don't need anybody to take care of me. I can take care of myself.
You have stoked so much fear in people that there are reports coming out of LGBT hotlines having an influx of calls after he won the election. They aren't calling because Donald Trump made any sort of announcements that he is going to be repealing or regressing our rights in any way. They are literally just responding to your words, to the fear-mongering that you so proudly sign your name on. You have scared people so much that even the thought of him makes them tremble. You have turned him into the Wizard of Oz, a fantastical, all-powerful, evil character. Disagree with his politics? Fine. But y'all have slandered him, attacked him, tried to prosecute him, and even tried to kill him. This is not a normal reaction to a politician. And in doing that, in the meantime, the American people have been drowning and you haven't noticed. That is why this is happening. The Democratic Party is dying. Your main strategy as a party was name-calling, prosecuting your opponent, and aligning yourself with celebrities and political people like Alex Soros. Imagine thinking that the key to winning was aligning yourself with all of Diddy's out-of-touch friends and a billionaire when the American people are telling you that they cannot afford groceries. The question now is, what will you do as a party to fix it? For now, and possibly for the rest of the party's existence, you have lost my vote because you are unrecognizable. But how do you convince the American people that you've called racist, homophobic, transphobic, sexist, bigots to vote for you again? And sorry, I had to look at the list because they've called us a lot of things. It's time to change the action plan, guys, because it's not working anymore. Calling people names doesn't have the same weight that it used to. So how are we doing so far? Is the party already making moves to rebrand in preparation for 2028? No, they're not. The response so far has been the same as usual.
Again, I'm profoundly disturbed that the 14th Amendment of the Constitution did not prevent someone who participated in an insurrection from becoming president of the United States.
It's not the elite that's going to pay the price. It's people who woke up this morning with a dream and are going to bed with a nightmare. And those people deserve to be respected and held and talked to. Those are the people who are going to pay the price for whatever Donald Trump decides to do.
I'm mystified in some ways. Who are we as a country? And we're starting to find out.
We cannot ignore there is still a lot of racism and gender bias in this country.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night
for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
People like me who voted for Trump have been called every single name in the book. Let's go through them together. Deplorables, garbage, racist, sexist, homophobes, transphobes, fascists, Nazis, white supremacists.
You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
73 million and counting in 2024 described as utter filth. That is what the modern Democratic Party thinks of everyday Americans. So when Kamala Harris tells Brett Baier that she doesn't think the American people are stupid, she's lying.
Listen, are they stupid? What is it? I would never say that about the American people.
And if you're some kind of minority community, the insults are far worse. The funniest part of this whole thing is how quickly people will become everything they say that they hate. If you don't support this narrative, the loving, accepting left will become the bigots that they allege they're against. Because I am a gay Latino, I myself was expected to vote in a certain direction. I was expected to vote for a party that can't even identify what a woman is anymore. A party that assumes that illegal immigration was going to be a topic I would be swayed over because I am a Latino. Guys, I don't know if you're aware, but that's an extremely fucked up thing to assume. Some, you guys, might even call it racist. Would you look at that? So we have Black Americans online attacking people like me for not falling in line as Latinos because Trump hates illegal immigration. Black Americans in this country are the first minority, besides Jewish people, to be offended by stereotypical remarks. But those same Black Americans are filling my X feed talking about how they've always known that Latinos are racist and sexist. The ladies of The View regurgitating that same message.
Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
What is wrong with this country that they would choose a message of divisiveness, of xenophobia, of racism, of misogyny over a message of inclusiveness?
For you dumbasses that needed to be pointed out, not all Latinos are illegal immigrants. Some people, like my family, actually fought really hard to earn the right to be here. Trump actually won the vote of Latino men by quite a lot. We have the numbers now. This was no coincidence. He grew his base in both the Black and Latino communities. Our fathers, brothers, and husbands are tired of seeing their jobs taken away by illegal immigrants because it's often cheaper to pay them than hardworking Latinos or Americans. Latinos are tired of our stories being merged with that of people who couldn't wait their turn to come to this country. Just because I speak Spanish doesn't mean I'm a Mexican who had to cross a border. Not all of us are Mexican, and not all of us are illegals. That's not to say I'm labeling all Mexicans as illegals. Not at all. I mention that because there are still people like Jill Biden who assume that all Latinos are Mexican. She called us breakfast tacos.
Diversity of this community, as distinct as the Bogotas of the Bronx, as beautiful as the blossoms of Miami, and as unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio.
I also think it's hilarious to tell me that I should have a certain opinion because I happen to be gay. Our community has spent the last 50 years telling people that we were born this way, that we didn't choose to be this way. So why would something I had no control over affect my opinions or decisions? You see how backwards that is? Fall in line, homo. You're not yourself. Eat a Snickers, is what you're telling me. I voted in the direction of truth. I didn't let the lies and manipulation sway me as a voter. Not this time. You got me in 2020. Not again. We can even find evidence of their lies in their response to his victory. Suddenly, the people who were just 5 seconds ago calling him a fascist dictator are congratulating on his win and advocating for a peaceful transfer of power. He gets invited by Biden to the White House to discuss his transition as president-elect, and the guy who said democracy was on the ballot spoke with him for 2 hours and couldn't stop smiling. It's interesting how the moment he wins, he's no longer the fascist dictator that they've been saying he is for years now. It's almost as if that was just the salad dressing to Kamala's word salad. If talking in circles doesn't work, bait people into thinking that they have no other option but to vote for you. Yet to them, to people like Nancy Pelosi, the reason they lost, and I quote, was guns, God, and gays. So the playbook of blaming Americans for making their own choice continues. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of this bullshit. I'm tired of being shit on. I'm tired of being attacked. I'm tired of being harassed for believing in the American dream. And I'm tired of being shamed for wanting a better future for the children of this country. Enough is enough. If you're watching this, I can assure you that you have lost friends or family because of this issue. Relationships between family and friends destroyed because of a political disagreement. I've had family members block me or unfollow me on social media. I've lost friends over supporting Trump. Red or blue, it doesn't matter how you vote. We all bleed the same color. I actually was one of these people at some point. In the 2020 election cycle, I did the exact same thing. Up until the candidate I voted for won, I was constantly fighting with Trump supporters. I thought the lowest of the low of your average Trump supporter because I didn't understand. I grew up in a big city in low-income areas with high Black and Latino populations. In other words, the Democrats' favorite places to campaign. I was bred to vote blue. My teachers in school very clearly all voted blue. So when the 2016 election came through, I was like 14 years old in my first year of high school, and I hated this man with a burning passion. I hated him for the same reasons I listed in this video. The lies. I was only ever shown the first part, the edited parts, of all of those clips. I hated him because of videos that were manipulated to say something else, because of a journalist with a bias, or because of a lifelong Democrat who took the blue pill and refused to turn back, educating young impressionable minds with bullshit. I didn't hate him by my own volition. Every resource possible was placed right in front of me for me to hate him. So to my MAGA friends, I am sorry because I was wrong. And I think being able to admit that and coming to the table to talk about why is how we move forward as a country. Kamala's loss was blamed on everything except Kamala. And when asked how her presidency would be different from Joe Biden's, She said this.
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
It hasn't even been a month. He's not even in office. And we're already seeing the positive effects of Trump's victory. I'll give you a quick list. The Taliban says it wants to strengthen relations with the US and work to be removed from the terror watch list. Putin not only said Western civilization is not an enemy, but that Russia will continue to use the US dollar. Mexico is breaking up caravans. Qatar is kicking out Hamas terrorists. Chinese President Xi Jinping also wants to strengthen relations with the US. Hamas calls for an immediate end to the Israel-Palestine war. And the stock market is booming. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get shit done. Please wake up. They have taught you to oppress yourself. And when they're not around to remind you how big of a danger he is, they know that muscle memory will kick in and you will remind yourself. They need to insist and pretend that the other side is so horrific that it's not even worth paying attention to the issues that are on the left.
Surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
The Democratic Party is dying, and if they continue on their current path, it will be a very, very, very long time before they win an election again. Thank God. The next 4 years are going to be very important for America. And that's honestly an understatement. Alrighty, y'all, that is all I have for you today. If you liked today's video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below whether you enjoyed the video. Also, comment down below a red or a blue heart depending on how you voted. I am very curious to know. As always, my socials are going to be linked in the description. We are also trying to go ahead and build up the community up on Rumble, so if you haven't followed me there, make sure that you do that. I will see you on the next one.